to the Farming Podcast brought to you by Private Property. My name is Phatudi Mahlokoane, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Phatudi from FarmSol. He's an agri-specialist, and today's topic is going to be about grain farming and exploring the different opportunities that grain farmers can take in ESD or enterprise supply development programs. Thank you for watching, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Instagram, or on Facebook. Please feel free to comment and ask Phatudi any questions that you have. And I must notify you that the YouTube video, the video post this interview will be on YouTube at the end of the live show. So if you don't catch us live, please feel free to visit the Private Property YouTube channel to catch my interview with Phatudi today. Phatudi, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, Mbali, and hope you're well.
I'm doing good, thanks. It's lovely to see you once again. I think we last saw each other, what, a year or two ago?
Yeah, it might be 2 years back, yes.
Yeah,
it's a while back, yes.
Yeah, it's a while back, but thank you for joining the Farming Podcast. So, Phatudi, you work for FarmSol. What does your organization do, and what role do you play within the company?
Oh, thanks, Mbali, for allowing us to join you on your podcast today. Look, FarmSol basically is a farmer support and development organization. So mainly our focus would be on helping farmers financially with agronomic support and everything. We actually believe we are there to restore the farmer. Yeah? We're trying to create future farmers, and this will in turn help us in a restoration of the country in itself, the economics and everything. And my role there is it might be seen as quite a small role. It's just to give agronomic support to the farmers, to give mentorship, and to help and assist them in procurement and advise them on a day-to-day basis. It might not necessarily be in terms of FarmSol's core business, but in other aspects of their farming entities.
Okay, so what type of farmers are you assisting? Is it which commodities are they farming?
Our main commodities right now, we are farming maize, non-GMO maize, yellow maize, and also we're farming barley. This we already have secured a market for it. We will be supplying SAB for their production. So those are the two main commodities that we do, but we are not limited to that because we have other farmers who would like to make production of other products, and we're still in negotiations and other things that we try to actually assist those type of farmers. But we are not, right now we are limited to that, but that is not a limitation towards us as a company, yes.
Right. So for people that are watching and just don't understand what grain farming is, can you just break it down to us in terms of what commodities are classified as grain farming?
Look, mainly what we do have as grain farming right now, we'd have your maize, your oats, your barley, your sorghum, and your wheat. That would be your main ones. And we'd have a typical cycle of production, which would last something like 6-7 months. And and then after harvesting that, in my area, if I may just wind it down, we'd actually start planting next week. We already more focused on land prep right now. So around about mid-November, that's when you start with your plantings and go further and up until late December. But anything after December the 26th is just a bit risky on my side.
Okay, great. So which area are you focusing on right now?
Right now, I'm split between Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and Limpopo, but I'm usually focused on the edges. If I were to say Northwest, it will be your Brett's area, your Magaliesberg area. Limpopo, we only just started right now. We have a client in Tawazimbi. We're looking to expand that side because it has a lot of potential there. We have some clients in Malanga, that will be your Devon area. And we also have clients in Gauteng, mostly based in the Vanderbijl Park area.
All right, great. So you said the season for grain farming, or I think in this instance, maize farming, is that you start planting between 2nd or 3rd week of November until yes. The window period is 2nd or 3rd week November until the 25th, 26th of December.
Yes,
so that's the planting period. And then for how long is the maize growing, and when does one harvest?
Look, we actually have an intention of harvesting towards July. That's usually where we have our prices hashed. We hash them for July. So we'd usually take, in theory, it would be something like 130 days, but it will also depend on what the weather will look like on that particular season. But looking at it, we've had fairly good seasons, so it has been around about, I can say around about 5-6 months. 7 months, that would be the worst period that would have taken for us.
Okay, and then you harvest in July.
Yes. We want to harvest in July. Let's say end of June towards July, that's when we'll be harvesting. Yeah.
Okay, so Phatudi, then what happens between the period of July and November? What do the farmers usually do in that time? Or how do they get money or earn money during that time?
Yeah, it's usually when you have to intertwine your enterprises, have cattle, have chickens, or whatever you can find or get your hands on. Because we deal with farmers who are not necessarily focused on only that one particular enterprise, that would be maize or barley. You'd have farmers who are doing vegetables on the side, farmers who are doing poultry. We actually have such a wide range of farmers that it's great to learn from them. It's such an interesting thing. You'd have farmers who are doing cattle, then Magaliesberg area. We have farmers who have game farms. We have farmers who are doing poultry. They're selling eggs. So in between that time, they'll still be able to generate cash through that. But sometimes it would be a time for them to recoup and say, look, let me fix my planter, let me fix my tractors and everything, and so that they go into the next season fully prepared.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned a bit about the costs, take us through the input costs. What, in terms of monetary value, how much is needed to start grain farming? Let's take maize as an example, and how many tons per hectare is required from a harvesting perspective to make a decent profit?
Okay, if I could break it down like this, I would say the amount of money you need to start. If you do have financial support from a company like FarmSol, it would be close to zero. It will just be you securing land, doing an application, and us trying to help you throughout the whole period of planting to harvesting. So it would just be you acquiring a lease, or if you do have land that is ready to be farmed, then we can assist you. So those costs would be quite minimal. And then if I were to put it in terms of input costs, we do have, I have ranges, because there are guys who are doing irrigation, who are going at, for barley, I was doing something like 13,000 rands on a hectare. For maize, it differs in areas, because in my the area of Magaliesberg, I'm doing something like 5,000 rands on a hectare, which is quite small considering the amount of harvest they do get. And then once you get towards the east, that would be your Vanderbijl going towards Mpumalanga. It starts to get more expensive. The prices can reach something like 9,000 rands on a hectare. And that in turn would tell you that if you were to produce something like 4 tons on a hectare, staying in Lichtenberg, you would actually make money. But once you approach the east, once you get to areas of Mpumalanga and them, that would be a very unfortunate harvest. You get in 4 tons per hectare. Although those still have exceptions in Bali. I remember if you're talking of a normal year, that would be actually a true statement. But if you're speaking of an abnormal year where there's drought and everything, a 4-ton per hectare crop will actually make you so much money, depending on the prices, what we have in stock, the rainfall, and there's just so many factors that go into it. But in terms of price and the input costs and the hectares, tons per hectare, you just need to manage your input costs. That's something you can manage because your output sometimes depends on factors that you cannot manage, like your rainfall, more especially for the dryland guys.
Okay, so just so that you don't get flooded with calls and emails, because people have heard it costs zero to start the grain farming. So let's just revisit that again. So what you're saying is that to be supported by FarmSol as a farmer, part of the Enterprise Supply Development Program, or to be on your program or farmer's program, is that the farmer needs to secure land with a lease agreement in place. Secondly, within that program, you'll supply them input costs, so making their production less expensive than what an ordinary grain farmer would experience.
Yes, that's actually true, and in this, that's when we actually had the foresight, or we were blessed to have such people leading us, like our MD, who decided, no guys, let's rather have our own mechanization hub. So we have what they call Asset Core, which assists the farmers to reduce even more the mechanization aspect of it. And since we are the ones procuring the inputs for you, we actually have more bargaining power. Unless you can understand and appreciate that if Mbali goes to order 2 tons of fertilizer, he'll still get it at probably with no discount. But if I were to get 2,000 tons, I can negotiate a discount. You can understand.
All right. Yeah, and what qualifies a farmer to be under the FarmSol program? How many hectares of land does one need to have?
We actually request that a farmer should have 50 hectares that is arable. There are other things that we look at, access to the market. That would be your silos. There are other production areas that we fail to get to, not from lack of trying, but it would be actually a lot more difficult for the farmer to get the grain to the market. We should have other farmers. Do you have farmers around you who can help in terms of mechanization and other things, that type of support? And how far is it from your local extension officer? That would be someone like myself. Can I get to your area? Will I be able to service you? I don't think it would be fair to travel 500 km for me only to get then sip tea and just come back. You get it?
Yeah. Yeah, so even on the price, you mentioned that different areas have different prices for the specific commodity. How is price determined in the grain farming industry?
The price determined, I think earlier was speaking mostly on the input costs, because we'd have to factor in your plant stand and your fertilization. That would be what makes it different, and would it be irrigation or not. But in terms of the price of the commodity being sold on the market, our guide would be the suffix. And suffix is mostly, it's like a system, a market that's developed, and it looks at what do we have in stock. Do we have a lot of stock in place? That would be the maize that is in the silos. Are there people buying it from abroad? Do we need to make some imports from other countries, and how much would it be? And other factors would be like your rainfall on that particular season, your rand dollar exchange. and any other most activities that would affect your economy. So that would actually have an impact on the price. I think the market just closed now. I think it was probably around about 3,009 rands when I last checked for yellow maize that would be sold in July. So yes, per ton. So yes, per ton. So those are the things you need to look at. And I think your viewers or your farmers listening right now, they should actually go to the websites of AFGRI or NWK or Senvest or even Grain SA, so that they can get a link and be registered to receive SMSs for daily prices. That would actually help them, because the daily prices will include all commodities, grain commodities, your yellow maize, your white maize, your soyas, your wheat, and there's also a page on your meat prices. So that would be actually helpful for them, yes.
All right, so with the price, you mentioned that it's roughly about just over 3,000 Rand per ton for July. So does this mean that the farmer is farming, right, maybe let's say starting to plant between now and December, but then the price that you've just mentioned is what they will be selling their grain in July. So are the prices forecasted in future? So meaning you as a farmer need to calculate how many tons per hectare you need to get, and knowing that in July, by the time I harvest and sell, I am getting just over 3,000 Rand per ton. Is that how it works?
I would say yes, that's how it works, but you need to do a few things. You'll actually need to go and hedge those prices and say, look, I need to make a futures contract of that. Nah? I think a contract for maize should be 100 tons. Then you have that particular contract. With our program, what we do, we'd actually group these farmers so that if one fails to secure a contract or has less tonnage for them to fulfill a contract, the next farmer can be able to assist in that particular contract. So our contracts with our grain trader is based, it's a group contract type of thing. Yeah? So it would be that, but you must remember there are also charges that are associated with that price. Your transport differential to Randfontein, which would be different as per your regions. I think we were being charged something like 400 rands there in Delareyville or more. I'm not sure the current differential prices, but you can also find them on the JSE, Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It will tell you how much it costs for you to produce grain in a particular area in terms of the transport differential. Then you'll have your silo cleaning costs. Can I just call them incidents? That would be your silo cleaning costs and probably drying if your maize is still not dry. It's over, let's say, 14%. So you might have those costs if you ask them to dry it for you, or you can leave it on your field. And then you might also consider the importance of grading, because not every grain that you produce might be graded as a first grade or first choice. So that's the other thing. Yeah. That then I think my statement should be 3,009 rands, yellow maize 1. That would be the first grade. So anything below that will get a different price.
Yeah, Phatudi, you mentioned that when farmers are part of the FarmSol program, you support them in various ways, from an agronomy, from mechanization, from input costs, etc., and technical advice. Furthermore, what I want to understand is that when a farmer enlists within this product, do they need to have their own market? Or does FarmSol procure that product, meaning let's say that yellow maize at the end of the harvest, and then put it in through to their own marketing different channels? Like you mentioned that some farmers grow maize for to be procured or consumed by, to be procured by SAB. So, how flexible are you? Is it when the farmer enters the program, you manage the input costs, and then post-harvest, it's sold to SAB and then you deduct all those input costs? Or does a farmer have to enter the program, not necessarily supply to SAB, but they can have their own markets as well? So how flexible are you in terms of market in this case?
In terms of market, our flexibility is a bit, it's a bit tight. We secure the market for you. So the burden of market is actually, it lies on us. What we actually do will help the farmer secure. Remember, what we will be doing will be non-GMO maize. That would be the maize as a cultivar that would not have any letters. It will just be no PROR. No? So that would be maybe a 73, 72 decalb maize variety. And then what we do, we take it through the silo to SAB. So basically, as you enter into the program, already you know that the market is secured. What you just need to find out is how much will it cost. And we do this on a, can I say, a day-to-day terms, whereby we'll be looking at the price trends and say, look, I think it would be wise for us to hedge now. And we have people who are advising us. We have an agricultural economist by the name of Ashley Matabata there, who really assists us and determines when is a good time for us to do the hedging. Yeah? Yeah. So in terms of market and hedging, we are secure.
Okay, that's great. It sounds like there's so much support within the FarmSol program and that the farmer is really not left alone. In your experience, which geographic areas are best for grain farming? So I know there's a wide range of commodities, but I think bringing it back to the specific commodity we're talking about, that you're supporting farmers in, the yellow maize or maize, which geographic areas are best for farming maize in South Africa?
Bali, my answer might get me into trouble because the other guys would be like, why don't you mention my area? But you know what? I believe the Magaliesberg area is quite interesting. Eh? The area has a high rainfall. The people who do mechanization there, they do not charge exorbitant prices. Eh? So you might find that I'm using something like 1,300 from disking up until harvesting. That would be diesel included. And you can imagine the savings there. Né? And in terms of the other things, aspect would be your rainfall, because those guys there, they have potential to do your soyas. They do potatoes in that area. They do, it might not necessarily be grain, but the diversity you can do that area is actually quite interesting. The animals there, your pastures and everything. So I can say the Magaliesberg area is quite blessed. But if you were to speak to other people, they'll tell you, "No, man, go to the Highveld." But I would go there carefully, because
what is the Highveld area? Which province are
that would be that. I think that would be on Mpumalanga area from, I'd assume from your Devon area going towards your Amersfoort area. That would be your Highveld area. So those areas, yes, you can go. It's a high rainfall area. I will not dwell much on it, but with high rainfall, there's high input costs, and you can miss it by just the slightest margin.
Wow. And here I thought high rainfall is a positive, because with maize farming, you definitely need rain. So the more rain, the better.
With what I've seen, Bali, I can tell you of an area in the northwest, between Lichtenberg and Koster, called Grootpan. The area, there's one particular farmer who does the same thing year in, year out. And I've always asked myself, why doesn't he change? It probably makes money for him. It makes sense for him to stay in that area. So I'll still come back to say, look, if people don't leave an area and they don't change whatever is going on, just know they're getting money. That's just me being a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I mean, why change what's not broken, you know?
Yes,
it's not about, we shouldn't miss the formula. But just to conclude this informative conversation, Phatudi, for people that really want to go into maize farming or grain farming, and from your experience and your knowledge, is grain farming growing in South Africa, considering the ongoing concerns regarding drought? So is it still a profitable industry to be in, or should farmers or aspirant farmers consider things like livestock and horticultural products?
Yes, Mbali. That one is a very look. Yeah, that one is putting me on the spot.
Is worth it or not? You know.
You know what, nah? Can I say it's worth it? It is growing. Nah? What we just need to do is to realize that if FarmSol says, Bali, please come and join us, get 50 hectares. Chances are it might be 50 hectares that was not in use. Nah? So in terms of land use, we might have an increase. And with the support you get, the agronomic support, farmers move from low production, nah, in terms of production per hectare, into higher production per hectare. So in terms of production per hectare, yes, we will grow. In terms of the number of hectares planted, we will definitely grow when we have programs and companies such as FarmSol on our side. That's one we can look at. So I'm not gonna say farmers should only do what you call it, cattle. Cattle alone, you know, Mbali, they'll take your cattle. They won't even steal it. They'll take it. It's. I think I was reading somewhere they were saying it's around about a 13 billion rand industry in terms of stolen animals. So that's not even, livestock. That's not what even goes through the books. So you see, it's a very big industry. So those are the risks that you'll have to take. That's why you need to supplement whatever you're doing. In terms of maize, you'll have drought, yes. In terms of animals, there's theft, there's diseases, there's this and that. So whatever you do, that's why most farmers are not into one type of commodity.
Yeah. Wow, but thank you so much, Phatudi, for having the conversation with me. It was so insightful, and I wish all your farmers a good planting season and that we get many rains, because right now we are getting a lot of rains. I know at the farm we were harvesting green beans yesterday and had a lot of damage on our green beans simply because of the heavy rains. You know, it was rust. But you know, some with rain, some farmers celebrate and some farmers are like, yes, but not too much. So and I know heavy rain.
If I were to tell you, I was supposed to be harvesting barley in Tabazimbi. Because of the rain and the type of soil that is there, we had to stop. We only did something like 1 hectare or so. Then it rained. We had hail. So I am in one side, the other side is saying no. It's a lot of hassle.
Yeah, so it could be a blessing and a curse at the same time, because if there's more rain, then you can't harvest and the crop just keeps growing and the weeds just keep growing, and just turns into a whole nightmare. So that's the trickiness about farming. You know, you have the good and the bad at both ends. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope to speak to you soon on a different topic, maybe once you're available. But I genuinely wish all your farmers a fantastic planting season, and most importantly, a great harvesting season next year in July.
Bali, thank you so much. I'll pass my regards to them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That was Phatudi from FarmSol, an agri-specialist who focuses in supporting farmers, particularly in grain as well as barley in the different geographic regions that we have in South Africa. So I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. He brought a wealth of information, and my take home was that grain farming in South Africa is still growing simply because you still have fantastic organizations like FarmSol that assist you as a farmer or an aspirant farmer in achieving a successful grain production. They not only support you in inputs, but with technical information, with price hedging, with markets as well, and link you to the right companies or the right resources that you could take advantage of when it comes to mechanization. And of course, you have agri-specialists like Phatudi visiting your farms, and just giving you additional support from there. So yeah, I hope this was a very good conversation for you, and that should you wish to get more information, please visit the FarmSol, which is FarmSol website, and be sure to reach out to the team, and I'm sure they will assist you accordingly. Thank you once again, and please join us next week for another episode with a fantastic guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.